Hello students, welcome to Harleen Core classes. So today in this video we will be discussing a topic of class 8 science, that is matters and non-matters. So in this we will be discussing about the properties of the matters and the properties of the non-matters also, the physical properties of matters and non-matters and the chemical properties of matters and non-matters. So before studying all these topics, we will be starting this chapter with the term element. Element. So what is element? If I take an example of, like, suppose water, H2O, this is water. You people can see that water is made up of two substances, that is hydrogen and oxygen. It means that water, that is H2O, can be broken into the two substances, that is hydrogen and oxygen. But if I further consider that hydrogen and oxygen, they cannot be further be broken into other simpler substances. So it means, what is element? Element are the substances which cannot be further broken. So hydrogen and oxygen here will be the elements. Here will be the elements. Because these are the simpler substances that cannot be further broken by any of the chemical reaction or by any of the chemical process. We cannot break further hydrogen and oxygen. But this water molecule, it can be broken up into hydrogen and oxygen. So H2O is what? H2O is a compound which is made up of the two elements. The name of the elements are hydrogen and oxygen. And these hydrogen and oxygen, they are the simpler substances. They cannot be further broken into the other substances. So they, hydrogen and oxygen, they both are termed as the elements. I hope the definition of element is clear to you people. So what are elements? Elements are the simpler substances which cannot be further broken by any of the chemical reaction or by any of the chemical process. They are the simpler substances. They are the simplest form. These elements are made up of. Now the question that came in your mind is, what these elements are made up of? What these elements are made up of? So answer is atom. So all the elements are made up of a very small particle. That particle is known as the atom. Let's suppose I am taking an example of iron. Iron is an element because it cannot be further broken into simpler substances. So iron is an element. This iron element is made up of a very small particles. And these small particles are known as the atom. And these small particles are known as the atom. So what is atom? Atom is the smallest particle of which an element is made up of. So till now the studies up to the class 8th, you people will get to know that atom cannot be further divided. But in the higher classes, you will get to know that atom, yes, atom is also made up of the subatomic particles that we will study in the higher classes in class 9th or in class 10. But till now, you just people remember that all the elements are made up of the smallest particles which are named as atoms. Next important thing for learning the element part is this. If I am taking an element of iron, then all the atoms here in the element of iron will be of iron only. Now all the atoms are made up of iron only. Here all the atoms are of iron only. It's not like there are some atoms of iron, some atoms of sodium, some atoms of chlorine. No, it's not like that. If I am talking about an element, some element, let's suppose if it is element sodium, then sodium element is made up of only one type of atoms and all the atoms are of sodium only. So the next important point here is the element is made up of only one kind of atom. No single element is made up of 2 or 3 kinds of atoms. One element is made up of only one type of atoms. Okay, let's move to the next point. Every element is named by some abbreviation. Every element is given some symbol. I mean, if I am talking about hydrogen element, then hydrogen is given a symbol H. If I am talking about iron element, then iron is given a symbol Fe. If I am talking about oxygen element, then oxygen is given a symbol O. So all the elements, they are given their respective symbols, and no two elements can have the same symbol. I mean that I can't say that iodine and iron, they both have the same symbols like Fe and Fe. No, it's a contradiction here. So iodine is represented by I. I is the symbol for iodine and Fe is a symbol for iron. So all the elements which are known to us, they all are represented by the respective symbols only. No two elements have the same symbols or the same abbreviations. Next point. Now we are done with the definition of the element. We are done with the what the elements are made up of. We also learned that the no two elements can have the same symbol. We also learned that all the elements, all a single element is made up of only one type of atoms. But how many elements we have? How many elements are known to us? What is the count of that element? If I consider the population of India, then the count of population of India is around 132 crores. Then what is the count of these elements? Are they also present in lakhs? Are they also present in crores? No. So the number of elements that are known to us are 118 elements. 118 elements known to us till date. So this is just a count, that is 118 elements that are just known to us. There may be the more elements which are present on the earth which are not discovered till the date, but there are 118 elements that are yet known to us. So these elements are also classified further in subcategories. Let's talk about 18 elements are known to us till date. So these all elements are not the naturally occurring elements. Some elements are also be discovered in labs. They are also be discovered by doing any of the nuclear reaction. So out of 118 elements, around 92 elements are those. 92 elements are those which are naturally occurring. Naturally occurring. And the rest of them are discovered, or I should say they are synthetic elements. They are synthetic elements. Fine. So out of 118 known elements, 92 elements, they are already present. They are naturally present on the earth. But 26 elements, they are synthetic elements. Synthetic elements means they are discovered in the labs. They are discovered because of some because of some nuclear reaction. So they are the synthetic elements, and 92 are the naturally occurring elements. I hope this topic is clear to you people. So this is how the elements are classified on the basis of their occurrence. That if they are naturally occurred or if they are synthetic elements. So this is the classification of elements on the basis of their occurrence. So next classification of the elements is the basis of their properties. Now we will be studying the classification of elements on the basis of their properties. Write down. Classification of elements on basis of their properties. Now, on basis of their properties, the elements are classified into the three categories. These categories are metals, non-metals, and metalloids. Okay, so what are metals, what are non-metals, and what are metalloids? We will be discussing these topics further in my videos, but for now you just people remember that metalloids, non-metals and metals, they're entirely different from each other. We will be discussing metals and non-metals in detail. We will be discussing the properties of metals in detail, properties of non-metals in detail, but these metalloids that we will be taken in the higher classes. So the properties of metalloids are in between the properties of metals and non-metals. They are not purely metals, they are not purely non-metals. So they are categorized as metalloids. So if I am taking some example like the examples of metals like iron. Iron is a metal, or I am writing it as this: iron, copper, gold, silver. So all these are metals. One thing to remember here, that all metals are hard and solid. But the only metal which is in liquid state is the mercury. So mercury is the only metal which is in liquid state. Remember and mark it important. It may be asked in your exams that name a metal which is in liquid state, then your answer is mercury. Examples of non-metal may be carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, sulfur. So these are the examples of some non-metals, and the examples of metalloid. They are very important. Your teacher can ask, give the examples of the metalloids. Then the examples of the metalloids are silicon, germanium, and titanium. So these are the three examples of the metalloids. So here I am giving you the examples of the metals, examples of the non-metals, and the examples of the metalloids, in which the examples of the metalloid is very important. Silicon, germanium and titanium. This thing is very important. It may be asked in your exam. And the second important thing is the liquid metal, that is mercury. This second thing is very important for your examination point of view. That it may be asked in your exams that give the name of a metal which is in liquid state, then your answer is mercury. So before studying about the properties of the metals, non-metals, physical properties of the metals and physical properties of the non-metals, we should remember the three terms which may be used very frequently while studying the properties. The terms are, I am just writing here on board. First is malleability. Malleability is the process in which the substance can be beaten up into the thin sheets by hammering on it. Fine. So what is malleability? Malleability is nothing but just forming a very thin sheets of the substance by continuous hammering on it. So making of thin sheets, by hammering is known as the malleability. So the substance that can be beaten up into the thin sheets, their substances are known as the malleable substance. And next is the ductility. So ductility means if a substance can be stretched to form the very thin wires, then that substance is known to be as the ductile substance. and it is known as the ductility. So what is ductility? Ductility is a process in which a substance can be stretched to form very thin wires. So write it down, making thin wires. Stretching into thin wires, or you should write stretching in thin wires. Stretching into thin wires. Then that process is known as the ductility, and the substance that can be stretched into thin wires is known as the ductile substance. So next term is brittle. Brittle. Suppose I take some substance, any substance, and if I beat that substance with hammer and that substance will broken into pieces, then it is known as the brittle substance. Suppose I take a sheet of glass and I beat that sheet of glass with hammer. What will happen? The glass will brittle, the glass will broken into pieces. So it means that the glass is a brittle substance. So what is brittle? Brittle means breaking into the pieces if we hammer on that substance. So what is brittle? Brittle means breaking into pieces by hitting on it. Breaking into pieces by hitting. So this is known as the brittle substance. So next, fourth point is luster. So what is luster? Luster means shine, chamak. The substances that have shine, the substances that have chamak, they are known as the lustrous substances. Okay, like gold. Gold has shine. So gold is a lustrous substance. So what is luster? Luster is nothing but just a term for defining shine or chamak. Fine. So these are the four terms that we will be using while discussing the properties of matters and non-matters. That is, malleability is thin sheets by hammering, making thin sheets by hammering. Ductility means stretching into thin wires. Brittle means breaking into pieces by hitting. And luster means shine or chamak. So these are the four major points that you should remember before studying the properties of matters and non-matters. And we will be studying the properties, the physical properties of matters and non-matters in my further videos. So keep watching my channel and subscribe to my channel, and let's learn new things, keep learning new things, do hard work, and all the best to all of you for your studies. Thank you. Bye-bye.